Now, in the practical term, which is concern us, this was just the background of the philosophy, that we have to find the realm of the human being as someone stable, someone happy, someone that is consistent with something it does. Mankind always needs reason and intrigue to do things. This is the nature of it. One is hungry, then he thinks of an answer to find food, and then he likes to make it to sustain, to be consistent. So material need is essential. So is his social values. He thinks of wife, marriage, of his friends. He needs those communication in order to exist and in order to be able to come tomorrow to work. A spiritual part is very important with development of the human being. Baha'u'llah explains the human being really comes originally in the womb of the mother and the nature, where he develops all his hands and eyes and ears, which are not very useful in the womb, but when it comes out, we can see it's all useful. Then he says there is a social womb. This physical being that comes out, now he has to be loved and nurtured by a man and woman, preferably related to him genetically, and that is mother and father. The laws and protocol that consist within so-called family that cannot be enacted by lawyers, postulates by the philosophers, fabricated by artists, or formulated by the doctors as something else. Historically, certain people will call them the prophets of God, of whom are Buddha, Krishna. In the East and in the West you have Prophet Muhammad and Christ, Moses, Zoroaster in ancient Iran. These are the only ones. These people have created rules of ethics called the spiritual values, without which family cannot be sustaining, because they have skillfully answered the hidden questions of man and his ultimate purpose in living and continue to live and where he's going to end. They may not seem to be very logical and scientific today to us when we refer to the word of Buddha or Krishna or Muhammad and Jesus, but at their time were very convincing for the people. This is why the society as a whole accepted it, and they sustained themselves. This is definitely the backbone of today's Chinese society, Chinese family. Is the Buddha, is Mahatma Buddha, which is totally not being seen by today's Chinese, probably. Many of them they might see in their heart, as totally hidden values. But this is why there are societies. This is why there's man and woman and they create children. Otherwise, if there is no rule and the rule is pleasure of sex, then there's all kind of ways they're going. You've seen it in the West. The West tried to get rid of religion, and they haven't been achieved to do it. They haven't been able to do it. But for so far as done, we have seen the result is totally decadence of morality, of attitudes, and ultimately craziness of the people. You've seen so many things that's happening around here, rarely happening in China, I believe. People are essentially depressed because they're looking for answers, they don't have it, and they've gone far away from their original value, economical value and social value, to where they are. Now, If you're asking me that, well, these type of problems are not in China, I will tell you that it is not in any poor country. Because the very first thing that's essential for a man and give him a reason and intrigue to go is his hunger. It's his economical need. As long as that is there, that's enough of a purpose to go after it. But once that's achieved and done, mankind then gets into creating a result of all his work, which would be happiness, social pleasures. When those things happens and gets fulfilled, then all of a sudden he finds himself dumbfounded. Then he has the problem that this Norwegian boy has, because those things are done. China hasn't got there yet. But if one day China gets there, they'll have the same problem. You want a neighboring example is right up there in your country, close to your country, is Japan. Japanese, they have done their economical and social climax, they've reached the top. So many people are depressed. The youth are doing suicides and things that's unheard in China, because they have answered those problems that you're trying to find an answer to. They've already found the answer. There's no problem for economy and social values. There are a spiritual problem, meaninglessness, nihilism. They do not know what to do. There has to be some theory to define this and bring it up. Now, in the world of nature, there's always answers to find. There are ideas that man make it. There are ideas that are in the nature. I revised the theory of Darwin by saying that there's no natural selections by the nature to mechanize the changes. The changes are mechanized because there are possibilities in the nature. Nature is full of possibilities. It's the natural possibility that mechanizes the changes to fall into. An oxygen, an atom of oxygen with the two atoms of hydrogen, they can come together because in the orbit, the last orbit of oxygen, there are 6 electrons and it has to be 8 and 2 is missing. Therefore, 2 of the hydrogen can fall in there. That is a possibility. This possibility creates water. Water, therefore, as a formula should exist that combine 2 hydrogen with 1 oxygen. If such combination is not there, you never get water. So there's a natural possibility that we have to realize and understand. In that case, ethics and people of the ethical values, philosophers and doctors and theologians, scientists like myself, they're unable to create formulas that convinces people. We have never had any theory as such given in our time turn that majority of the people of the earth could be convinced by it, from the highest scientists to lowest people in the earth, whether from all the creeds. Such philosophy and theory has been postulated by God in a natural way through a manifestation of God called Baha'u'llah. By definition for us, prophet of God is God himself, in a sense that the emanations of his reality and his power in this world comes through a human being, much like a computer that you might open it and dial and use the webcam on the top and talk to the president. President might be lucky, kind enough to come on the surface of your computer and speak to you. At which time the president has not moved from his original stations to come into the computer. He has not. This is just a transmission. He has not moved an inch. And the same way, God is not moving up or down or anything. He is wherever he is, but is emanating himself through the power of the prophets that we know him. So only these particular individuals are prophets of God. Nobody else can. I've given enough reason that why a prophet of God is a prophet, maybe one of them, which is the most important things of them all for you to ponder upon, is the fact that the influence he has among the people spiritually. There is only Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad and Jesus, and Moses at the time right now. There's nobody else. There have been many thousands of attempts to create faith and religions and whatnot, but everyone fails. Those like Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran, or the Pope and the Rome, they're not original. They're borrowing power from the original source. They themselves have no power to claim something new. People would reject them right away. And that is the unfortunate part, problem of the youth. So, of the great, very, very great, useful ideas of the Baha'i faith, one of them is the universal government. Baha'u'llah explains that you've had organized yourself through having a village, government of a village, government of a province, government of a city, government of a country. World needs a universal government, he says, to create an organization universally dealing with the universal values and issues and get rid of a lot of wastage. For example, imagine the army in China or in United States of America. If this is dismantled and turned, converted to something to help the planets in every which way, imagine how much better the planet would be. If under the universal government people could be, by the law of the world, could be dispersed from China to go to Australia, to go to other places, to stabilize the population on Earth, how useful would that be? So this is one of the things that he says we do need, require to have universal government. And then, for the first time in the life of the religion and evolution of it, Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, introduces democracy in religion. He says a man does not have any preference over any other man to rule him, spiritually especially, because that's very derogatory and dangerous. He has created democracy in it. So the Baha'is, follower of Baha'u'llah, they don't have a priest, a spiritual leader, so-called. But Baha'is in the cities, they elect their own local spiritual assembly, 9-member, that deals with their issues, whether it is divorce or marriage or anything. So is in the country, so is in the world. Only a spiritual, though. It has nothing to do with the politics, economical and social and other governing matters. So, this is just a little glimpse I gave you about what Baha'i faith is. He says man and women are equal in their rights. He says family is the foundation of the society, of the human being is the womb. But man has to be grown with 15, 20 years in by love and the conditional love of mother and father in order to create a healthy mind to send to the society. He says religion has to be according to science and logic. If it is outside of science and it cannot be explained, it's mere imaginations. In fact, the word belief and I believe is an abandoned word in the word of Baha'u'llah. He says that instead of saying I believe you, say I recognize you. Recognitions of Baha'u'llah, which is backed up by the science, by understanding, by logic. A simple I believe because of my personal experiences is not acceptable to the people of the world. It creates divisions. Our belief system better be completely based on the logic and science. So these are some of the things I told you. I don't know if it is useful or not to you. You be the judge of it. But I'm sure the West is going down and they have opportunities and chances. United States to do anything, I don't think so. Canada might be, but it's very small. Australia too, and I don't think they will. England, I don't know how much of the English mind that changed the world is still around to listen to these things, because the drinking and other habits have, basically destroyed these nations. So in that case, China will be the backup plan of God, and it seems the only eligible one in case of failing system in the world, to come and rule the world. Definitely the Western countries and so on. So the Chinese mind, as Mao was, he understood Marxism, although coming from Germany. And Chinese, they understood Buddha, although they came from Bengal. Today, the Chinese people have to come to a realization to this power of Baha'u'llah, a philosophy originated in Iran, hated by the Iranians right now, because simply Baha'u'llah does not allow clergies to rule democracy, and also it says man and women is equal. So Muslim, they don't like this, to equality of man and women in their right, and they don't like not to have clergy. Clergies are totally against this, naturally. So quite honestly, there's no room for any pope, any ayatollah, any lama, name it. There's no room for this thing. It's all by the elections have to come. It has to be scientific backup for it. So if you are equipped with the knowledge and science, because your country is not dead country, I call it an organic country, the government of China can study this revision into their philosophy, just as Mao did, never accepted Marxism in its pure form. He said it has to be changed and modified. So you can modify the philosophy by which you're ruling and governing the China. This will allow the people of the world, they look at you in a very different way, because Baha'i faith, if it's introduced by China in the world, let's say China become the first nation to accept this, it will definitely the license for Chinese to import their philosophy and their everything to the world, and is much needed anyways. The world needs discipline and contentment and regulations, without which at the present chaos is taking over and is killing us. However you like to handle, it was just fair for me to explain these things to you. But because you are a scientific government, scientific philosophy you have, things you're saying is based on the truth, and your criteria is science, your background philosophy, I'm urging you, if you found this introduction any good, to get into this channel of the 5 elders. Take that from number 3 to number 21, study the philosophy and the rest of it, make a version of it, turn it into something that's acceptable and for the Chinese understanding of them, and promulgate it in China. And let the world to know that. If you like to become truly superpower in the world, you have to understand the essential need of mankind. It is not economy, it is not social values, but it is also spiritual. Simply waiting on the top of your government and looking at your watch, taking time when would the government of the United States goes down in a race that you are a winner, this is not the road to sustain way of living. That's not going to be sustained. You in fact have to see what you could do even to save the United States of America. They are part of you, all of the people. Just like the philosophy you have, by the Mao, you have accepted it. The whole society is one being. Broaden your view and see the whole world. All of it altogether should be one being, one organic being. And you have enough power of 1.2 billion, quarter of the people of the world, to change things around for the betterment of everyone. Thank you very much.